Which LEGO Star Wars UCS set will claim the top spot? Will it be this $2,000 Naboo Starfighter that retailed for $40, or could it be a cheaper one like this $430 Republic Gunship? Well, in this video, we're about to discover which LEGO Star Wars UCS sets are the worst and which ones are the best. I'll be ranking them based on their current price, retail price, the minifigures, the number of pieces, size, play features, displayability, and of course, their looks. But before we jump into it, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory about the rise of the UCS sets. As you probably know, LEGO Star Wars started back in 1999, but in order to find a collector's audience, LEGO decided to release the two first ever UCS sets in 2000. You could tell that these sets were completely different from the normal ones due to their intricate designs, large scale, and exclusive minifigures. The first ever UCS set to be released was the X-Wing fighter, followed by the TIE Interceptor in 2000. 24 years later, LEGO released another TIE Interceptor to celebrate the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars. UCS sets are now 24 years old, and with 39 UCS sets in total, there are some very amazing ones. Just so you know, I'll be leaving some of the Master Builder series sets on the list that are also considered to be part of the Ultimate Collector series as well. Now, let's go through the list and rank them from worst to best. The worst UCS set is the first one ever made, and this is the X-Wing fighter from 2000. It just looks horrendous, and you can tell that it was the first X-Wing and the first set ever made when it comes to UCS. There are some random green pieces on the sides, and although it retailed for $150 and had 1,300 pieces, which is decent, there was only one minifigure, and that was the R2-D2 that was released in 16 different sets, so nothing too special about it. There's nothing special about this set, and it's very surprising that it's now worth over $1,200. Next up is the second one LEGO ever made in 2000, and this set is the TIE Interceptor. This one is also very inaccurate with the blue colors, and it lacks details. It retailed for $100 and has 703 pieces, which would give it a 14-cent per piece ratio. This is pretty bad considering that it was released in 2000, but it's remarkably worth about $1,000 now, which is pretty incredible. What's disappointing is that this set didn't even come with a minifigure, not even a TIE pilot. It doesn't make any sense, so that's why it ranks low on the list. You're much better off buying the second edition of this set released in 2024 at a much cheaper price. Next in line is Yoda from 2002, who's just obsolete at this point since there was a much better version released in 2019 with much more pieces as well. However, I must say that for a 2002 set, it's pretty impressive considering that LEGO didn't have as many different types of bricks in inventory yet. Unfortunately, it didn't mature well and just doesn't look good at all now with the plain pieces used to build him. This set retailed at $100 and is now worth $500, so that's 5 times its original value. It has 1,075 pieces, which is a decent amount for its price, but again, no minifigures. It's overall just a bad set. Next up is the 2003 Rebel Snowspeeder that honestly doesn't even look that bad, but with the release of the second edition of the UCS Snowspeeder in 2017, it's no longer a good set. Not only didn't it come with any minifigures unlike the second edition, but details are not as good either. This set retailed at $130 and has 1,455 pieces, which is pretty good when it comes to the price per piece. If you're looking to get this set now, you'd have to spend over $900 for one in brand new condition, which is much more than the newer version of the set. This, however, isn't surprising considering that there are a lot less on the market now since it was released in 2003. So unless you're a collector, you're probably better off with the second edition of the UCS Snowspeeder. Next up has to be the General Grievous released in 2008. To begin with, I'm not even sure why this is a UCS set and it doesn't even look that great in comparison to this General Grievous buildable figure from 2015. It doesn't even have the right colors since General Grievous is not fully white, and you also can't attach both of his arms together, which is unfortunate. The lightsaber are also quite ugly, to be fair. And the only thing I'd say that's pretty good about it is the size, since compared to the 2015 one, it's much better. It also retailed at $90 and has 1,085 pieces. If you were to purchase it today, it would cost you over $400, which is quite pricey when you can get the 2015 version for only about $100. I think LEGO were probably experimenting and stopped making those UCS sets since they weren't really doing well. Just like the buildable figures, right? Remember that Jyn Erso buildable figure? Yeah, didn't really do that well. Next one on the list is Darth Maul that was released in 2001 and is now one of the most expensive LEGO Star Wars sets at a $3,700 price range. This must be because of the rarity of this set and perhaps also its uniqueness. Considering that it was released in 2001, this set is quite impressive, but due to its high price and the plain pieces used to create this set, it just doesn't look as good now and doesn't give its head the right shape. This set has 1,868 pieces, and believe it or not, it retailed at $150. This means that it has appreciated over 2,390% since its release, which is absolutely insane. Next one would have to be the special edition Naboo Starfighter that was released in 2002. Did you know that this set is worth over $2,000 and only contains 187 pieces? I know, it's insane considering that it was originally retailing at $40. I believe the reason this set is worth so much is because not only is it a rare set, but it also has some magnificent silver chrome pieces that look amazing. However, what I dislike about this set is also that it's so small in comparison to the other UCS sets we've got, so it's kind of terrible when it comes to displayability, which is why I'm ranking it here. Of course, the price isn't the best as well. Now we have the 2004 UCS Y-Wing Attack Starfighter that is worth over $850. But used to retail for only $130 and it has 1,473 pieces. The retail price was pretty fair considering the high piece count. I think the Y-Wing looks alright, but again, with the release of its second edition in 2018, it doesn't quite meet the requirements anymore. The 2018 UCS Y-Wing has 2 exclusive minifigures, while the 2004 version only has this astromech droid that was released in 7 sets, and it's only worth about $4. This Y-Wing is also much less detailed than the newer version, so I probably wouldn't consider buying it. Next up on the list might be a little controversial, but it's actually Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter released in 2010. Although this is probably the oldest, cheapest UCS set that you can get on the market nowadays for about $350, I think it lacks details, doesn't have enough pieces, and its retail price wasn't the best at $100 for 676 pieces. It also doesn't even have any minifigures beside that big R4P17 head that's pretty cool. I've never been a big fan of this set. I'm not even sure why it was made as a UCS set, since those types of starfighters are usually better when it comes to playability rather than displayability. Now we have R2-D2, which arguably could have been lower on the list, but I think its price is very fair considering that it was released in 2012 for $180. This set contains 2,127 pieces and 1 minifigure. Now it's only worth about $215 nowadays, so that's only a $35 increase over the span of 12 years. The reason for that is because, as you may know, LEGO released another buildable R2-D2 in 2021 and then released another one that was much smaller this time in 2024. So they've just been spamming those R2-D2s, which lowered the value of the 2012 one. Before then, it used to be worth a lot more since it was a unique build. It even went all the way up to probably over $300 at some point. I still think this set was great for its time, but now with the release of the 2021 R2-D2, I probably wouldn't recommend it, especially since the head has significantly improved with the newer version. Now I feel like we're at the point where the sets are starting to become good. We have the Rebel Blockade Runner, who appears to be the Tented 4. That one was released in 2001 and has 1,747 pieces. It retailed at $200, so it wasn't the best price per piece. However, I think that for a 2001 set, it looks incredible and was ahead of its time. It has some very cool details, and it's no surprise that it's worth $1,600 now. Honestly, the main reason I had to put it this low on the list is because it doesn't have any minifigures, but also the details are outdated and so is the stand, unfortunately. Next up we have the Vader's TIE Advance that was released in 2006 for only $100 and has 1,212 pieces, so that price per piece was pretty strong at 8 cents a piece. I must say that this set is pretty big too, as it measures 14 inches high, 13 inches wide, and 13 inches long. However, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing set, as it has a huge octagonal windscreen at the front of the cockpit, and it even has holes in the wings, which doesn't look good. Surprisingly enough though, that windscreen is worth $120 alone because it's exclusive. On top of that, there aren't any Darth Vader minifigure, which I think is unfortunate considering that it could have been easily added to this set for not that much of a cost. It's not like the Darth Vader minifigures from 1999 to 2003 are worth much. It also has an outrageous price of $1,100, which makes it quite hard to get. However, I could definitely see LEGO releasing a new one in a couple years from now. Next up is the UCS B-Wing Starfighter that was released in 2012. It retailed at $200 and has 1,487 pieces, so it definitely doesn't have the best price per piece ratio. It's not a bad set and it's worth over $550 now, but I believe it's missing a key feature, which is that you can't fold its wings when it is in a stationary position. It also doesn't include any minifigures. I think it's one that LEGO could probably re-release in a couple of years from now, but it's not big enough of a deal to have one immediately made again. I just find it odd that they made a third X-Wing before making a second B-Wing, so it could definitely get more attention from LEGO. Next up is the Imperial ATST that was released in 2006 for only $80, has 1,068 pieces, and is now worth $600. This is one of the best UCS sets released in the early 2000s. I think the design on this set is amazing, especially considering how old it is. I think it just really looks good, even beside the 2016 normal ATST. The only missing things were the ATST pilot minifigure, and I would have loved to see a feature similar to the 2016 ATST where you can rotate the head using the technique piece. Of course, the fact that you can't even move its legs is also very unfortunate. Overall, it's a great set, but we need a second edition of it. The next one is a 2013 Red 5 X-Wing Starfighter that, in my opinion, was ahead of its time. I think the design of this set is quite cool, and you can even rotate this technique piece at the back to open up the wings or close them up. The only thing is that this set was quite expensive at a retail price of $200 for only 1,559 pieces and one very common R2-D2 minifigure that was released in 10 sets. They could have at least included a Luke Skywalker minifigure. There's also a new UCS X-Wing Starfighter that was released in 2023, has 390 pieces more, an extra minifigure which is Luke Skywalker, and is only $40 more, which isn't much when you take in consideration the inflation. On top of that, the 2013 X-Wing is now worth $275, which is even more than the newer X-Wing, so for those reasons, I have to rank it here. Next up is Luke Skywalker's Landspeeder, released in 2022. I know some of you might be surprised, but I say that this one is more of a personal preference. The Landspeeder is retailing at $240, contains 1,890 pieces and 2 minifigures. The set is well designed and doesn't look bad, but I'm not a big fan of the minifigures, and perhaps it's because they released a bunch of Luke's Landspeeders, but I just feel like it's not the UCS set we needed. There are better ships out there in my opinion that would look better as a UCS build. The Luke Skywalker minifigure is the same we've had in 8 other sets, so I feel like LEGO should have given him some arm printing and made him an exclusive minifigure. At least the C-3PO minifigure looks good with his printed arms, but we've had too many C-3POs already. So I'm not a huge fan of the minifigures and just the idea of a UCS Landspeeder. Moving on, we got the UCS Razor Crest released in 2022. Again, I feel like some of the ships are just not meant to be UCS sets, and that's another one of them. I must say it's pretty accurate to the one in the series, but I don't really like the look of it. I also feel like $600 for this set is too much and there are too many pieces used to build it. However, I must say that the minifigures are a great selection for this set, and the Mandalorian is also an exclusive minifigure, which is good. If it had fewer pieces, was $300 to $400 instead of $600, and had the same minifigures, I think it would be much higher on the list. It's simply too expensive for what you get in that set, and that's why some people are already selling it for underpriced on other markets. I know you'll be surprised by my selection of the next set, but that is the 2016 Assault on Hoth that I know many people dislike. I actually have this set and I don't think it's as bad as people say. Not only does it have 15 fantastic minifigures, it was only retailing at $250 and has 2,144 pieces. This gives it a great price per piece considering the amount of minifigures that are included in this set. Oh, and by the way, those minifigures are now worth about $340 according to Brick Economy, which is absolutely insane, and that's without even counting the Wampa and Tauntaun. I personally like the fact that you had most of the important elements of the Echo Base included in this set. Of course, the ion cannon and little outpost designs weren't the best, and the set wasn't really made for display, but overall, it's a great set that's now worth about $550, which is more than double its original price. Next up, we got the 2015 TIE Fighter, which is surprisingly enough the only UCS TIE Fighter that LEGO has ever made. This set retailed at $200 and contains 1,685 pieces. Now, the retail price is fair as it also included an exclusive TIE Pilot minifigure with printed arms. This is the first one we've ever had. That minifigure is now worth about $60 by itself, and the set is nearly $300 in total. This is one of those sets that I was very tempted to purchase at first, as I'm a big fan of the classic TIE fighters, but $200 was too much for me at the time, and man, this stand looks amazing. Just the fact that you can place the TIE fighter on the stand so that it doesn't even touch the ground when you display it is pretty cool. The design of the TIE fighter is very nice, and I think the only thing that could have been improved is its cockpit, because it doesn't really give its spherical shape like we've seen in the 2024 TIE Interceptor. Otherwise, it's a great set, and that's why it ranks fairly high on the list. Next up is a 2023 X-Wing Starfighter that contains 1,949 pieces, and it's $240, so only $40 more than the previous UCS X-Wing from 2013, which seems like a fair price. On top of that, it also has 2 minifigures, one exclusive Luke Skywalker and one non-exclusive R2-D2. You can also rotate this piece at the top to open up the wings or close them up. I think this set is a great improvement from the previous UCS X-Wing, and it even comes with a stand, so I don't think we can really ask for more. My only critique would be that the X-Wing kind of looks weird when displayed on its stand with its wings open. It's as if the X-Wing is in a fighting position while landed, which doesn't really make any sense. Otherwise, it's a pretty cool set. Next up is the second edition of the UCS Y-Wing Starfighter that was released in 2018, and man, I love that set. Not only does it come with 2 exclusive minifigures and a stand, but the ship itself is extremely detailed. Just look at all the little pieces used just to add some texture to it. You also have the pink reactors at the back to make the set look even better. It was only retailing for $200 and it has 1,967 pieces, so that's only 10 cents a piece, which is unbelievable, especially since the set has 2 exclusive minifigures. By the way, these 2 minifigures are worth $120 in total, so that's more than half its retail price, so good job if you have this set. It's now worth about $425 sealed in the box, and this comes with no surprise since it's 10 times better than the older UCS Y-Wing Starfighter. Coming up, we have the second edition of the Snowspeeder. That's another phenomenal set released in 2017. This one also has 2 exclusive minifigures, retailed for $200, but contains 264 pieces less than the Y-Wing at 1,703 pieces. Both minifigures together are worth about $120, and the set is now worth $370 in brand new condition. I think the cockpit of this set is very well done, and of course the stand is once again very much appreciated. I think that this set did a fantastic job outperforming the first edition of the UCS Snowspeeder, and that's why it's ranking high on the list. Next up, we have the 2020 A-Wing Starfighter, and I'm ranking it higher than the other Rebel ships because it looks amazing, but mainly because of its lower retail price of $200. Considering that the 2013 X-Wing was the exact same price 7 years ago, this is pretty incredible. The set also has an A-Wing pilot that's now worth about $50 alone. This set had a shelf life of about 1.5 years, so it comes to no surprise that it's already worth $260. My only critique would be the number of pieces that's on the lower end at 1,673. But even then, it's an A-Wing, so you can't really expect it to have like that many more pieces. It's not the size of an X-Wing. Overall, it's a great set. Next on the list is the Ultimate Collector's Millennium Falcon, which is a highly underrated set since it was released in 2007, but honestly, it's one of the best. First of all, this set was definitely the most expensive LEGO Star Wars set at the time when it came to retail price, as it was retailing for $500. It has 501,097 pieces, which at the time was the most LEGO ever did for a Star Wars set until they released another Millennium Falcon 10 years later in 2017. This set is an absolute beauty and even has an exclusive Obi-Wan Kenobi minifigure. In total, there are 5 minifigures, which I would say is kind of low given the price. But again, this is a UCS set, so I won't complain. Honestly, the only reason this is not ranking higher on the list is because it's worth nearly $2,200, while the newer Millennium Falcon that has more pieces and precise details is much cheaper at $850. Moving on, we got the 2024 25th anniversary TIE Interceptor that looks amazing and is worth $230. This set has one TIE pilot that is exclusive and has printed arms and a little mouse droid, cause why not? It has 1,931 pieces, and for its price, that's pretty decent. Honestly, it's an extremely cool set, and I love how they finally found a way to give the cockpit a spherical shape. The wings are also fantastically well designed and have the right shape. Overall, it's a great set, and hopefully LEGO can make another TIE fighter with a similar cockpit soon. That would be amazing. Next up is the 2014 Sandcrawler. That's one of the best UCS sets, but honestly, all the next ones on the list are amazing, so I had to place it here. This set was initially $300 and has 14 minifigures and 3,296 pieces, which gives it a price per piece ratio of 9 cents a piece. This is just ridiculously good, especially since it has 14 minifigures. The value of the set now is just a little over $500, and that's mainly because of the minifigures that are worth a fortune. Owen Lars alone is $87 on average. The play features are nice, like this little crane to pull the droids and those tracks on the wheels. Honestly, I don't have any critiques for this set, and since the Mos Eisley Cantina came out in 2020, this set has skyrocketed in value. Next on the list is the magnificent Imperial Shuttle that, believe it or not, was released in 2010. I know it's getting old now. It was initially released at $260 and has 2,503 pieces and 5 minifigures, so it's a decent price. 2 of the minifigures are unique, but aren't worth that much due to the use of common pieces. I must say that I'm very impressed with that set, and it even has a big stand and also a smaller one to hold it when it lands, so that's pretty impressive. You can also rotate this little piece to expand the wings or to close them up. There's also a lot of space to put the minifigures into the cockpit, so that's very nice. The set is now nearly $1,300 in brand new condition, so that's the only downside of it. Next up is another amazing UCS set, the Death Star 2, released in 2005. The first incredible thing I noticed about this set was the price per piece of 8 cents a piece, which I think is ridiculously outstanding. It retailed for only $270 and has 3,441 pieces. I'm a huge fan of the Death Star, and this is certainly a set I wish I had, but is now worth nearly $3,100, so it's almost unaffordable at this point. Honestly, I don't have much to say about the set besides that it's a masterpiece and that the way it's built is super accurate to the Death Star 2 we see in the movie. On top of that, it's pretty big in comparison to the other UCS Death Star LEGO made in 2008 and then in 2016. If you're a collector, I think this is the perfect set for you. Next on the list is the 2013 Ewok Village. This is another beautiful set that has 17 minifigures and 1,990 pieces. Its price per piece was a little higher at 13 cents a piece, but honestly the minifigures are now worth $320 by themselves, which is more than the set's retail price of $250. The set is now worth over $570, which isn't surprising considering that it's such an iconic scene from Star Wars. There are also 4 exclusive minifigures in this set, which brings the value up quite a bit. It might not be the best set for display, but overall it's a great iconic set with a lot of play features and minifigures. We are now entering the top 10 best UCS sets, and the first one is the 2008 UCS Death Star.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
This set was $400 and has 3,803 pieces. The set contains 27 minifigures, and its price per piece is only 11 cents a piece, which is excellent. The thing about this Death Star is that it only has 4 exclusive minifigures if you count the interrogation droid and assassin droid, so that's why the price didn't skyrocket as much as you'd think, although it's almost $800 now, so it's still doubling the value, which isn't nothing, right? Another reason is that this was one of the best Star Wars sets that stayed on shelves for the longest time, from 2008 all the way to 2015 for a little under 7 years, so of course it won't be as rare as the other UCS sets that have a shorter lifespan. Overall, this was a great set with many minifigures and a lot of play features, but the next one is even better and more expensive, and this set is, you guessed it, the second edition of the UCS Death Star. This time it retailed for $100 more at $500 and has 4,012 pieces and still 27 minifigures. You might be wondering, like I was back in the days, where the $100 came from, aside from the extra 209 pieces that were used to upgrade parts of the set. Well, the value was found in the minifigures' extra details and exclusivity. That's also why the second edition of the Death Star is now also worth over $1,100, which is $300 more than the previous one. Just to give you an idea, the minifigures alone are now worth about $470. This Grand Moff Tarkin is by far the most expensive minifigure of the set at an average price of $82. Nonetheless, this is one of my favorite UCS sets, and it is the first one I ever got. We now have one of my favorite UCS sets, the 2011 Super Star Destroyer, that's nearly 50 inches at length and has 3,152 pieces. The set retailed at $400, which was on the expensive side, but it also has 5 minifigures, 3 of them being exclusive, so all in all, the 13 cents price per piece isn't bad at all. This set is just amazing. It's Darth Vader's Star Destroyer, one of the greatest ships in Star Wars, and it's no surprise that it's now worth over 3 times its original price at $1,300 plus. My only issue with this set is that it's a meaty scale UCS set, and I understand that it would require a lot of pieces to make the full scale Star Executor, but I think LEGO should make it one day, because it's way too small in comparison to the other 2 UCS Star Destroyers we had. Overall, it's still a great set, but I would love to see it full scale. Moving on to the next one, we got the first edition of the UCS Imperial Star Destroyer from 2002. This set was definitely released ahead of its time since it's still an amazing set to this date. The price per piece was incredible at 9 cents a piece since the set has 3,096 pieces and was retailing for only $270. I'm saying only because now it's worth well over $1,500. It stayed on shelves for a little under 6 years, so it's fascinating to see that set being worth so much. This Star Destroyer measures 37 inches long and 23 inches wide, so it's also enormous. It even has that tiny little tinted fore. The only critique I could say is that it didn't come with any minifigures, but at the time, this was completely normal. The only reason this set isn't ranking higher is because LEGO re-released another Imperial Star Destroyer in 2019. Otherwise, it's a phenomenal set and it would rank even higher on the list. Next up is one of my favorite UCS sets, and I'm even surprised that I didn't end up ranking it even higher. This set is a UCS Slave One, or some may say the Boba Fett Starship. This one was released in 2015 for $200 and contains 1,996 pieces, which brings the price per piece to only 10 cents a piece, which is pretty good. On top of that, this set came with 5 minifigures, 3 of them are exclusives, so 10 cents a piece is extremely cheap. The Boba Fett minifigure alone is now worth about $122 because of the printed arms and its rarity. The set is now worth over $450 on average for one in brand new condition, which is more than double its retail price, and honestly, I'm not surprised because this set is amazing. It even comes with a unique stand and a special windscreen worth $89 on average. I'm not gonna lie, this has to be one of the greatest LEGO Star Wars sets ever made. The only reason I didn't rank it higher is because the next ones on the list are even more amazing. This leads us to our top 5 UCS sets, and the first one is the second edition of the UCS Millennium Falcon released in 2017. This set is simply amazing and an improvement for the 2007 Millennium Falcon. It has 7,541 pieces compared to the previous one that has 5,197 pieces. The retail price is $850 and it has a price per piece of 11 cents a piece, which is decent. It even has 8 minifigures, and Princess Leia and Han Solo are both exclusive. This ship is also huge as it measures over 8 inches high, 33 inches long, and 22 inches wide. It remains the biggest LEGO Star Wars set ever made, and it's just fantastic. Next up is the UCS Venator, that's also a gigantic set released in 2023 to celebrate 20 years of Clone Wars adventures. It contains 5,374 pieces and retails for $650. It's an excellent and enormous set as it measures over 12.5 inches high, 43 inches long, and 21 inches wide. There are also 2 minifigures that were initially both exclusive until LEGO decided to re-release this Phase 2 Captain Rex in a Y-Wing microfighter. And that Y-Wing microfighter, by the way, was only $13, imagine. That would be my only issue with this set since both minifigures were supposed to be exclusive. Otherwise, it's a great set, and as a Clone Wars fan, this is one of my favorites. We've now entered the top 3 best UCS sets ever made, and to start off, it has to be the 2021 Republic Gunship. This set is fantastic, and it's one that any Clone Wars fan wanted for a very long time. It has 3,292 pieces and retail at $400. It's now worth about $430, which is already a pretty big appreciation in value considering that it only retired in December of 2023. This set also has 2 minifigures, one of them being an exclusive Mace Windu. However, because we've had a Mace Windu with printed arms from the Clone Wars released in the Republic Fighter tank in 2022, I don't think that Mace Windu was the greatest choice for this set. I think a clone pilot with printed arms would have been much better. And it's also very unfortunate that this clone commander was released in a bunch of other sets. It makes it very underwhelming for this UCS Republic Gunship. All in all, it's a very cool set that is very easy to display with its nice stand, and I think LEGO did a good job replicating it from Star Wars. Moving on, we got a second edition of the Imperial Star Destroyer released in 2019. This set is a big improvement from the first edition back in 2002, and it just looks amazing. Not only does it have a wonderful stand to display it, but this set is gigantic. It measures over 17 inches high, 43 inches long, and 26 inches wide, so it's even bigger than the previous version of the set. It's just huge. I think you need to see it in person to understand just how big it is. I remember getting the set from a guy who dropped it off at my house, and it barely fit in his car at all. That's just how big it is while built. It even has that little tinted floor, just like the other one. This Star Destroyer has 4,784 pieces, so that's 1,688 more than the first edition, and it definitely shows. The stand is also just amazing and a very cool add-on to the set. It's pretty big, by the way. The stand is huge. It also has 2 exclusive minifigures, both Imperial officers, that are now worth about $100 combined together. The only critique I can give this set is that the price per piece is quite high at 15 cents a piece since it retailed for $700, but all in all, it's an excellent set. Even then, it's now worth $1,000 only 2 years after its retirement, so this set has really skyrocketed in value and keeps appreciating like crazy right now. So if you want this set, don't wait too long before getting it because it's gonna go through the moon. Finally, in first place, we got my favorite, the UCS AT-AT from 2021. This set is just unbelievable. You have so much space to put your snowtroopers in the AT-AT, and you can even store this fantastic E-Web blaster that comes with the set. It also has 9 amazing minifigures, which is the most we've seen in a UCS vehicle or ship set so far. It's also the second biggest LEGO Star Wars set in terms of pieces, with a total of 6,785. The price per piece is alright at 13 cents a piece, considering that the set has 9 minifigures and also is $850. It's also huge, as it measures over 24.5 inches. This set is just phenomenal, and I've always loved the AT-ATs, so that's why it's at number 1. It just looks incredible, and for the price, I think it's a must-have. It's going to be retiring by the end of December 2024, so I recommend you get it if you still don't have it right now. I'll probably get it myself, honestly, because man, I can't let that set go. I'm gonna have to at least have one. So I think that the older UCS sets are more for collectors, but if you're looking to just build the sets or display them, then the newer versions of the sets might be best for you since they are much cheaper and better than the older ones. So that's all I got today. Like, share, and subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments which UCS set is your favorite, and feel free to let me know what your ranking would be. If you disagree with any of my ranking, let me know. I'm always open for criticism or critiques or feedback. You can now watch this video, which is another interesting topic, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.